Go ahead and sign in.
You need a pen?
Mom says I'm so contagious.
Skip the chaos and the germs. Log in to waitfromhome.com. See wait times at over 15 UMC clinics. And when it's time to come in, we'll call or text. Skip the wait. Waitfromhome.com.
Welcome to the Red Raiders pregame show presented by UMC Health System. I'm your host, as always, Nicholas Talbot. I'm joined today by Don Williams. Today we're going to be breaking down Texas Tech's matchup at 3:45 on Saturday with TCU and the Horned Frogs come to town. Last year, it was kind of an embarrassment when they went up there, 82-27, Don. Tech's defense couldn't stop anything, but this is two different teams this year. It's clearly Texas Tech is 3-0, and TCU's missing a lot of pieces. What can they really do to make this a different game?
Yeah, and that's that's the real curiosity factor to me on Saturday is going to be who is actually going to be out there playing defense for the TCU Horned Frogs. They lost about half their starters from a solid defense last year, and then this team has just been devastated by injuries. Just in the last month alone, they've lost something like 8 defensive starters. They've lost 3 guys to season-ending knee injuries. They've had a guy undergo one of their defensive linemen underwent toe surgery last week. Another of their defensive linemen has not played this year because of a concussion. And it's just been all across the board. They've lost defensive linemen. They've lost linebackers. They had one linebacker given a leave of absence. They don't expect him back. And again, lost people in the secondary. So I did kind of a little quick bit of research just a moment ago, as a matter of fact, and unless I missed somebody, out of TCU's top 15 tacklers last year, only one actually is A, still on the team, and B, still healthy to play on Saturday. So that's kind of a wild card in this matchup, and that gives the Red Raiders, who have been really good on offense so far this year, a chance for possibly another big day from Patrick Mahomes and company.
Yeah, last week the Horned Frogs couldn't even stop SMU quarterback Matt Davis. He accounted for 392 yards. SMU, of course, still lost, but they put 37 points on the board. Mahomes can do things with his arms and legs just like Matt Davis did. He already has more than 1,000 yards passing and 9 touchdowns this year. He's rushed for 129 yards. With that many defensive holes, I see Mahomes having a really big game. There's a really big opportunity here for him to really establish himself as one of the top quarterbacks in the Big 12, even this early into his career. He's only started 7 games, but he's already thrown in those 7 games for more yards than Graham Harrell or Kingsbury. What he's done with this offense the last few weeks and the last 7 starts has been nothing short of phenomenal. He's cut down the turnovers. The 2 turnovers he did have last week were both kind of throwaway plays that kind of served as punts. As a result, Texas Tech has scored more than 30 points in 6 straight games. That shouldn't. With TCU having this many holes, that streak should continue. Is it going to be enough to win? Is going to be a good question. Whether or not he can keep that streak going, with all the defensive starters that TCU is missing, they should be able to do that. One thing they're going to have to do, though, they got to get on the board quick, and they got to erase that 82-27 in their mind on. Yeah,
I think it's going to be vital. One of the things that Tech has done, out of all the good things that you mentioned, one of the things that Tech has done at the beginning of the season, first 3 games of the year, they've scored a touchdown on the opening drive each of those 3 games. So they've gotten off to a lead, gotten off to fast starts. They've looked really sharp in doing so. Mahomes on first series this year is 11 for 14 passing. They have not committed a penalty. They have not had a play for negative yardage. And Jakeem Grant's been really good right from the start. He's caught 6 passes on opening drives this year, and 5 of those were big plays. A couple of them were touchdowns. And that's led to Tech averaging 34 points a game so far in the first half. But to me, I think if Tech is going to win this game on Saturday, they will need to continue that, because I think for as much progress as they have made, and even with being undefeated, I think this team could still potentially be vulnerable from a psyche standpoint. just because they're not that far removed from being 4-8 last year. And if they do not start well, if they don't get that quick touchdown, they don't get a jump on TCU early, what happens if Trayvon Boykin and Josh Dawson and company goes out, lights Tech up, has a big first quarter, and gets Tech down 21-7, 28-14, that kind of thing? I think this defense could be, or even team-wide, this team could be vulnerable to uh-oh, here we go again. It's mighty TCU and the TCU offense, and you get to have those. You start to have those flashbacks of 82-27, and while it shouldn't reach, 80 points this year. Again, I think this team can still be vulnerable to a lack of confidence, so it's going to be vital that they continue to do what they've been doing and play good right out of the gate.
All right. Do you think Texas Tech's going to be able to do that, and how do you see the game going?
I think it could be. I think it could be a 70-63 game, and I'm serious about that for a couple of reasons. One, the Tech offense versus TCU defense, I think, is a great matchup for the Red Raiders for the reasons that we've just documented for the last several minutes. Tech's offense has been fantastic so far, and they've got to be very confident. And TCU defense, again, I'm not even sure who's going to be lining up for those guys on Saturday. And that was one of the questions that we asked Cliff Kingsbury after practice on Tuesday. Does it make it more difficult personnel-wise to prepare for TCU since they have so many people out with injuries? And one of the defensive linemen, Mike Tuawa, this week was arrested and suspended from the team. Cliff Kingsbury said he didn't really look at it like that. He knows that Gary Patterson's a great defensive coach. He said whoever they have out there is going to be well coached, coached up, and know the game plan, be ready to go on Saturday. But with that said, though, again, last time we saw TCU against Texas Tech, it was an absolute field day for Trayvon Boykin. Most points anyone's ever scored against the Texas Tech football team. So I think this is going to be a wild shootout. It's going to be fantastic for TV. 70-63, shades of Baylor TCU last year? That was 61-58. Actually,
Yeah.
that 70-63 game was West Virginia. Remember West Virginia's first game against Baylor in the Big 12? That was 70-63.
That was.
I think this game could be just like that. Or as you said, in all seriousness, I think it could be a 61-58 kind of game.
All right. I'm going to agree with you there. I think it's going to be a wild shootout. I've seen a couple national pundits even picking Texas Tech to win this shootout. Dane Wolken of USA Today picked this was his special of the week. I think that's riding high. That might be a little overestimating where this team is. They're coming a long way. I think we're going to see something more in the lines of 51-48. I think it's going to be closer. I really think Tech turned the corner last year, and they showed that when they're trying to redeem themselves from last year. They were embarrassed by Arkansas. They went to Arkansas, and they got it done. Now they have TCU coming. I think they're going to redeem themselves, but I still don't think it's going to be enough to upset TCU. I'm kind
of the same way. I think TCU will win also. And one thing we haven't talked about that we need to mention is the special teams aspect. Tech still trying to kind of decide between Michael Barden and Clayton Hatfield as their kicker. Both those guys are redshirt freshmen. Neither, of course, had any experience before this season. Barden's been okay so far, but then he missed that 22-yard field goal at the end against Arkansas last week. Contrast that with TCU and their kicker, Jaden Obercrom, who's been one of the best kickers in the Big 12 for a couple of years now, and it seems like he has almost made a career out of kicking field goals against the Red Raiders. I didn't go back and check before we came on today, but I know he was 6 for 6 in a game, I believe, a couple of years ago, or I think he was 6 for 6 in that 56-53 overtime game down there in Fort Worth when he was a freshman. And I want to say something like 12 for 12 field goals wise, just in his career against Texas Tech. So if it comes down to being a close game, where a field goal could win at the end, that's kind of another thing I think that goes in the Horned Frogs' favor here. Just to find out if Texas Tech can redeem themselves from last year's game, be sure to follow us on RedRaiders.com, and of course, as always, on Twitter at AJ_Don Williams and at Nicholas R. Talbot. We'll see you at the game.